From KAMR Local 4 News, your local election headquarters, this is Politics Today.
The Amarillo Fire Department is looking at the needs of the city a decade from now, how the City Council is helping to also get a plan in place. We know how great it is to have Cannon Air Force Base nearby. We'll meet some of the people who protect our nation. What fire department needs will Amarillo have in 10 years? Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Jack Kessler. That is the question that AFD is trying to answer and anticipate. The Amarillo City Council approved money to help create a master plan. Here's what AFD and the Amarillo mayor had to say about it.
What that master plan does is it helps us to forecast through the growth of the city and anticipated response times, and helps us develop a plan for deployments, new fire stations, facilities as it relates to the fire department, which are pretty big investments. So to be able to map that out ahead of time puts us in a better position.
Jeff Arbin, Amarillo Fire Department Deputy Chief of Community Risk Reduction, says the biggest part of this master plan is looking at data. What, if any, land needs to be purchased and where resources will be stored.
Whether that's a two-company station or a single-company station, if we're going to have commercial districts, whether that's going to be a ladder placement, it just helps us to really be able to start forecasting those decisions so that the financial impact of those decisions can really be distributed in a way that's most cost-effective and fiscally responsible for the city.
Mayor Cole Stanley says the City Council has the opportunity to continue to prioritize public safety.
So you'll see council over this summer work that budget to provide the funding for Fire Station 14 and for appropriating the additional allocations for equipment and additional personnel as we look for Station 15, which could be on the horizon in the next couple years.
Stanley adds they want the city to grow, but with safety in mind.
So we don't want to just grow haphazardly and then to have that knee-jerk reaction of, oh, we better get over there and appropriate infrastructure and take care of public safety. With these safety features that we can plan for, we can put them in the budget and we can anticipate that growth coming in those areas of town so that we can be ready to properly cover and serve those new neighborhoods.
Harbin adds that the contract is for about 1 year, and he says they hope to have the master plan up and useful over the term of that contract, but the plan itself will be built out for up to 10 years, maybe even longer. Harbin adds that the community will not see the impact right away, as this is a long-term plan with a 10+ years worth of planning going into this document. Cannon Air Force Base was originally built as Clovis Army Air Base in 1942 and was reactivated by the Air Force in 1951. Air Force Special Operations Command was formed in 1990. In that time, both Cannon and the AFSOC have evolved into a critical artery of national defense. But ask any air commando and they'll tell you the most important part of military service isn't a base or any sort of technology. It's what's on the inside. Politics Today's Rochelle Hamilton Jr. has more.
For Chief Colin Fleck,
if you're going to serve in the military, you have to understand that the mission is the most important thing that's going to happen.
This is more than just a uniform.
You're wearing the cloth of your nation, and that we're just taking our place in history, whether that's 249 years of American history or 35 years of AFSOC history. We have been gifted the greatest inheritance of all human history.
And it's no ordinary job.
Just to recognize what it is that we represent and what we're a part of.
For Chief Fleck and the commandos at Cannon, defending the country and its citizens is a sacred duty.
Incredibly dedicated, incredibly professional, disciplined airmen that seek to execute the mission with precision time and time and time again, no matter what the environment is.
The Cannon Commandos have a multitude of weapons, strategies, aircraft, and technology to defend the nation against global threats. But, as Lieutenant Colonel Chris Tidwell tells me, the most important qualities of a commando are ones that you can't physically see.
My favorite part about being an air commando is doing something that's bigger than myself. Being able to wake up every morning, put on a uniform, go out and do this job and take care of others while serving my nation, which is ultimately service before self, which is to me, has always been a calling.
And the tools they get to work with on a daily basis, unlike any other in the world.
And the fact that I get to do this every day, get paid to fly airplanes, do cool missions, and see the world is the best. Because eventually I'm going to have to grow up and get a real job. on the outside. And when that day comes, it's going to be bittersweet.
Intelligence and communications have long been a crucial part of national defense, and like everything else, they've evolved and changed considerably over time.
We provide intelligence, weather, infrastructure, communications support to the RPA enterprise.
Lieutenant Colonel Brian Sum, commander of the 56th Special Operations Intelligence Squadron.
We're also a center of innovation, acting kind of as a quarterback amongst the various operational squadrons on base that fly the MQ-9 in order to help develop the next generation of technology and tactics, techniques, and procedures for the unmanned enterprise and AFSOC.
The MQ-9 Reaper unmanned aircraft, a versatile aircraft used in intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and target acquisition. Cannon is home to the entire fleet of Reapers, serving to protect millions of Americans.
There is no higher thing that you can do in the United States of America than provide the support for the Constitution and the founding principles for which we exist.
While largely going unnoticed.
That within Special Operations Command, we are asked to take upon ourselves some of the most daring and important missions in pursuit of national security objectives and to save American citizens around the world.
It's these qualities that Chief Fleck and the rest of the Cannon Commandos want to instill in young leaders.
They have the same motivation, they have the same ideals, they have the same inspirations. They just want to serve and do their part and preserve the nation. It's incredibly awe-inspiring.
To continue serving the country.
We've been doing a number of stories about Cannon Air Force Base. You can watch those on our website, myhighplains.com. The Texas legislative session is over. We'll talk about what goals were met and what's left to be battled later. Plus, it's one of the largest goals of the session, and now it's signed into law. The 89th legislative session is now over. In the last 5 months, lawmakers have debated more than 8,000 bills. Of those, about 1,200 actually passed and are headed to or at the governor's desk. Some of the biggest priorities like school choice, bail reform, water investment already have a signature or are awaiting the governor's signature. Dylan McKim joins us now with more.
In February, Governor Greg Abbott laid out 7 emergency items for the session. A clear message to the legislature, these are the top priorities. And they delivered on all of them.
School choice is now the law of the great state of Texas.
Tackling education reform by passing an education savings account program. It gives public dollars to families who want to send their kids to a private school. The legislature followed that up with an additional $8.5 billion for public schools. Half of that new money going toward raising teachers' salaries, a move celebrated by many, but school district leaders say it's not enough.
Yes, it may be $19 million that we get from the state. Remember, they didn't give us $19 million 2 years ago, and so we've been short. And so now it's a matter of catching up.
The legislature made big changes to how the state handles bail bonds, passing a joint resolution to allow judges the discretion to deny bail to someone accused of a violent crime, keeping alleged criminals in jail pending a trial. $1 billion for investments in the state's water infrastructure, another $10 billion in property tax relief to save the average Texas homeowner about $500 a year, plus a whole new agency known as the Cyber Command to protect the state from cyber attacks, signed by the governor on Monday.
Our state is under constant attack by cyber criminals, attacks that occur thousands of times every single second.
A big debate happening right now is over THC, that is the compound in cannabis that gives someone a high. The legislator passed a full THC ban, but the question is, will the governor sign that bill or veto it? A group of people have more than 1,000 petitions they delivered to the governor's office urging him to veto the bill. The governor has until June 22nd to decide whether it will become law. Texas Representative Caroline Fairley, reflecting on her first term in office, she authored, co-authored, sponsored, and supported several bills, including resources to fight wildfires, digital safety for kids, education, and more. She said this session was putting Texans first and said she is proud to stand alongside fellow legislators to get the job done. Funding Texas public schools, the House bill passed went to the Senate and went through some changes. But the more than $8 billion, while historic, is making up for lost times, according to some. Dylan McKim traveled to Solano, Texas to learn more.
Governor Greg Abbott is signing an $8.5 billion check. Money school districts say they desperately needed.
Texas is #1 in so many categories. Texas should be #1 in educating our children.
About half of the new dollars will go toward teacher pay raises, a priority for Governor Abbott this session.
Put more teachers on the pathway to being able to earn a 6-figure salary.
For a smaller school district like Salado ISD, it means an $8,000 pay raise for teachers with more than 5 years of experience and a $4,000 pay bump for teachers with at least 3 years.
This bill will provide historic raises for our teachers here in Salado ISD.
School leaders have expressed their appreciation with this bill, but still some have concerns with the local control of these dollars, including one school district 300 miles south of Salado in Mercedes, Texas.
It doesn't really provide funding for the day-to-day issues that districts run across on any given day.
School leaders like Dr. Alicia Noyola hoped for a larger increase to the basic allotment, which gives school districts more flexibility on how to use those dollars. The structure of this bill earmarks those dollars for specific costs, a move supporters say will free up the basic allotment to be used for day-to-day costs.
To help out with those budget issues, there's $1.3 billion of this budget going toward that.
But Noyola still believes the new dollars will not be enough.
While we will have money for a number of programs, districts will still be in a position to have to make some tough decisions.
In Salado, I'm Dylan McKim.
The bill also reforms the teacher incentive allotment, which is a program to pay higher performing teachers a bigger salary. Governor Abbott announced this week that $481 million of funds were awarded to 42,000 teachers this year. The big beautiful bill passed through the U.S. House, with a few lawmakers now saying they regret it. Now it's in the Senate, but doesn't have the votes to pass yet. We'll see the impacts it'll have on Americans and what Senator John Cornyn is saying about it. The Congressional Budget Office, a bipartisan group, have released their findings. If H.R. 1, or the Big Beautiful Bill, is passed by Congress, found the bill would add more than $2 trillion to the nation's deficit over 10 years. They also found if the tax cuts passed in 2017 are extended, it would decrease revenue by nearly $4 trillion over 10 years. That revenue loss would be offset by $1.3 trillion, which is coming mainly from cuts to Medicaid and SNAP benefits. But that means more than 10 million people would no longer have health insurance. This bill was passed in the House, and it now sits in the Senate. Right now, they don't have the votes to pass it, and it is surely to go through some changes. Here's Senator John Cornyn speaking with our D.C. Bureau on this bill.
Well, we want to know what his priorities are for the Big Beautiful Bill passed by the House. Now, as you know, it's the Senate's turn to pass that bill, and before we send it on to the president. But we know that his priorities are mainly to prevent a multi-trillion-dollar tax increase on the American people. 62% of taxpayers would see an increase, including small businesses. We know he has other priorities that he campaigned on, things like no tax on tips and the like. And this also represents maybe once in a generation opportunity to begin to chip away at our national debt, which now is in excess of $36 trillion, an unsustainable amount.
You were the whip. Do you think you have the votes right now with the House bill to get this through?
Not yet, but I expect the president to encourage us to get that done as soon as we can.
One of the portions of the Big Beautiful Bill was stopping states from implementing AI regulations for about 10 years. Texas lawmakers just passed some AI regulations, a big AI regulation bill. Have you had any communications with Texas lawmakers about this and how this would affect them?
Well, I'm not sure that provision will survive the Senate's rules because under the Senate's rules, you can't make policy. It has to be a budgetary matter. That's the so-called Byrd rule. But without getting too far down into the weeds, I don't think that's likely to survive. So I don't think that will be an issue in the end.
And then another portion of that was $46 billion for building the border wall. As you know, the number of people crossing the border has plummeted. Do you think that amount of money is still necessary?
Well, we need some combination of border wall technology and people. And I know we need detention facilities for ICE when they detain individuals who come into the country illegally. And then we need personnel. We need people to actually do the work. So some combination of that. I think it's something we should talk to the president about and see what each of those areas, what his priorities are. But certainly the wall has a role to play, but we need people and we need technology as well. But as you point out, as a result of his enforcement policies, which are dramatically different from the previous administration, the numbers are way, way down.
And you've seen, I'm sure, these conflicts between civilians and ICE agents in places like San Diego. Are you comfortable with how ICE has carried out its enforcement under this administration?
I am. I think Tom Homan is doing what the law requires. And, you know, the strange thing when I see members of Congress protest about the way that ICE is doing its job, this is consistent with the laws that Congress has passed.
Days after being celebrated for his work with Doge, Elon Musk has come out against the bill, calling it a disgusting abomination and encouraged people to call their lawmaker. In fact, the president and Musk have gone back and forth on social media over the past few days. A number of GOP members in the Senate believe this will get passed. We'll hear more from Senator Cornyn after this. Senator John Cornyn has been a U.S. Senator since 2002, and he's faced a lot of opponents through the years, but he may face his toughest campaign against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton in the primaries. RTC team spoke with him about that.
And then I wanted to ask you a question about the campaign. Folks are watching this 22-point poll from Punchbowl News. Texas Southern poll shows that you're 13 points back. How do you plan to make up that margin in the primary? And is there a point where you decide not to run?
Definitely, I am running. And think of it as the first inning in a 9-inning game. We've got work to do, but as you can tell, as you've noted, the polls tend to be all over the place. But I think this is really ultimately going to be a matter of character. And I believe that Texans believe that character still matters. And while the escapades of the Attorney General are somewhat well known within a kind of an insular circle within Austin, they're not generally known by primary voters. And I think when they learn the truth, when they learn the facts, when they learn that my voting record with President Trump is basically 99.2%, and I've been endorsed by the Border Patrol Union, which means they recognize my efforts to help secure the border, then I think those numbers will turn around. But one other thing that we're doing here, just to demonstrate the importance of the work we're doing in the Senate and in the Congress, is we are passing a reimbursement bill to get Texas the $11.1 billion that Texas taxpayers had to pay because the Biden administration refused to enforce the law.
Next primary election in Texas is on March 3rd. Candidates can officially file this fall. The last day to register to vote will be in February. We'll wrap up politics today after this. You may have noticed you're getting more mail and text messages for the Amarillo City Council Place 3 spot, and now that election is over. Let's talk about what happened this week. Current councilman for Place 3, Tom Sherlin, going against David Prescott. Election day was yesterday. They will have to canvass these results and make them official before swearing in the winner. And you can find those results on our website, myhighplains.com, with other political news. Plus, check us out on Alexa, Instagram, and like us on Facebook. And you can check out, again, the rest of the political news that we have for you on our website, myhighplains.com. I'm Jack Kessler. This is Politics Today.